Welcome to the Mama Mudra podcast. I'm Kate Thompson-Duwe, and I believe that the wellness industry has a joy problem, so we're aiming to fix it. This podcast is where we bring in experts to challenge beliefs and tools to feel good, stay consistent, and build a life that works. Because in this community, joy is the new performance metric.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Mama Mudra podcast. As you can tell, I look a bit different today because I'm not Mama Mudra. Shocking, I know. I'm her best friend, and in this episode we decided how much fun would it be if I interviewed Kate, because I know the real loving Kate, and I think you guys should too. Take it away, Kate. Oh wait, you don't have to introduce yourself. This is your podcast. Okay, I'm going to jump right in. I've never hosted a podcast, so everyone's going to have to bear with me and not notice me sliding this piece of paper to Kate over the table. Okay, the first question I have for you, Kate, is what are some of the healthy habits that you think is overrated and actually unhealthy and a bit taboo?
So today, at this stage in my life, the answer would be very relevant to what it is that I'm trying to create and what I speak about here on the podcast and on my social channels and at Sunshine People events, is anything that doesn't bring you joy. So the answer would have been different about a decade ago, but for now, I think anything that requires you to push yourself too hard repeatedly in such a way that doesn't make you happy on a cellular level, your body's not going to respond well if it's feeling like it's being tortured and punished. And this is really where this whole sort of business model and idea came from, was that the wellness industry in general feels so punitive in terms of it doesn't matter how something makes you feel, as long as you're doing it and as long as you're killing yourself to do it, it's going to be the right thing to do. And that, to my mind, is just not right. So, you know, I used to have that exact mentality that as long as I was absolutely killing myself doing something, then that's the level to which I should be training. And now I think it needs to be more around focus on the belief and the feeling of how the feeling that something that you're doing gives you. Do you feel good, even if you're not necessarily breaking a sweat or out of breath? Is it making you feel good? Because there are so many different metrics these days that we're aware of. It's not just physical exertion. It's mental happiness and well-being. It's anti-anxiety. It's, you know, all of these wonderful things that we're now more aware of. So I think that that's really overrated, the habit of trying to absolutely kill yourself every single time you get up to do something wellness related. And then the other thing is if it's too competitive. So, you know, back in the day I used to live by my watch that I'm not going to say the brand name, just in case there are any potential sponsorship deals coming in the future. But when I had that watch that measures performance, I mean, I would train with my trainer in the morning. And weight training, for some reason, doesn't close those rings, like, at all, which is crazy because weight training, I mean, I can kill myself more at weight training than I can in a run. But, you know, my ring would sort of be like the performance metric ring would be like halfway closed. And then I'd be like, no, I also have to go for a run. I also have to do something else. And I'd get home and there would still be sort of 10% or 15% left. And my husband would find me walking around the kitchen furiously, literally trying to close those rings before I could go to bed. And that's just my mentality. I'm like, I'm obsessive like that. Exactly. Yeah. And that's not healthy. So like, it's all well and good measuring performance, but if it's at your own expense, and like when it's time to go and just lie down in bed and read a book, you're walking around your kitchen trying to close a performance ring, I would say that's an overrated habit.
But I feel like this is also something that will drift off more into a personal life as well. Like, you and I very much say yes people, especially to each other. And I think it was only this year that we went, no, please don't come past the house, because if you come past the house, I'm not going to go to bed at a reasonable hour. Yeah. So I think that also translates. I think once you manage to say no or realize a certain habit in one aspect, you can start adding it into your personal life.
With age comes wisdom, my young friend.
I'm still waiting to find that out. I'm immature as hell still. Okay, so then this one. I really don't want to ask you this question because just hearing anything that makes you upset makes me upset just by default. But when was the last time you failed at something, and what did you do about it?
Like every week.
She's lying. She's blatantly lying. This woman's an overachiever.
I mean, I think Sure. There are so many different like aspects to this answer. I mean, I'm not going to go too personal because as any mom listening to this will attest, there are moments as a parent that you feel like you're failing your kids all the time. So I'm not going to go there because also I'll land up crying and it'll get too emotional. But there are those personal moments where you're kind of like, am I doing enough in that aspect? But more from like a performative external perspective, I would say this year, I and about all of this, I started this journey last year and I started it amidst a whole lot of change and turmoil in my life. I left the career that I'd been focusing on for a really long time and I left it amidst really horrible circumstances. It wasn't nice. And it really sort of made me question a lot of things because that had been my career for like 20 years. And the way that it ended had me questioning a lot of things that I'd achieved. Were they good enough? Was I really as good as I had thought that I was at what I'd spent, a vast portion of my life doing? And so when I started this, it was absolutely because I believe firmly in the message and I think it needs to be heard. But it was also because I cannot just sit around at home and do nothing. Like I will literally, I hate to think what I would obsess over, but it would not be healthy for anyone. I'm way too much of an obsessive person. So I started this, and in typical me, form, I threw myself at it in every way. So I started the social media content strategies across a number of platforms. I very quickly started the podcast. I very quickly launched Sunshine People events with Sean and launched our first event and went straight into event production and produced it and executed it on the 7th of January of this year. So everything was done so quickly, and I found all these strategic partners to work with, and everything was done so quickly that everyone involved were just like, how are you getting all this done? This is crazy. Like, the level of achievement, and I thrive on that. Like that's always been me, the woman that people look at and go like, how do you do it all?
Yeah.
And even if I'm dying inside because it's too much, I'm like, yes, I look like I'm killing the game, So I did that with all of these businesses, saw a really, really huge leap in return. And then on the back of the Sunshine People event on Stanley Island, there was just this crash because I literally came back and I was like, right, I'm ready to go. Let's do the next one. When's it going to be? Where's this? Where's that? And started looking out for sponsorship and started going, and the time of year was shocking. It was end of Jan. All the brands had already allocated their sponsorship budgets for the year.
People are broke after December.
People were broke. Calendars were planned. And I'm sitting there sort of raring to go, and no one else was kind of like, okay, cool, let's go. So I had such a massive sense of anticlimax in terms of, oh, wow, like, hold on a second. Actually, maybe this isn't going to be as easy as I thought, And I went to Sean and I was like, love, I just want to do another event. He's like, but maybe it's not the right time right now. Like, maybe you just need to let the dust settle and kind of like, reevaluate and then move slowly and strategically from there. And I did have a massive sense of, I wouldn't necessarily say failure, but self-doubt for sure. Like, is this going to work? Am I doing the right thing? Is this purely self-gratifying? Like, am I just doing this because I like to hear the sound of my own voice on a podcast? I don't know, But the benefit of that, I think, and again, this is with age comes wisdom, is I realized that moment of pause, and I actually spoke about it quite a lot because I'm certainly not one that's ever really appreciated a pause. I'm always trying to fill in empty spaces, much like you. Like, God forbid you have to sit back and actually like stop and think, and
what does that feel like?
Exactly, evaluate. But this is what that gave me. It was a moment to kind of be like, okay, am I on the right track? Is this genuinely what I believe in? Do I need to, alter some of the messages? Is the direction right? Are my goals right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I question myself all the time, but I think it's a healthy questioning, not feeling like a failure questioning.
I hear you. Do you always feel like that little voice in your head is like not on your side?
Always.
Because you're not alone on this. I just came off a shoot now where I was a supporting lead to now having to go back into the audition room as just a number. And it's just that thing of, 3 weeks ago I was worth something, but now I'm back to being just a number. It's that constant love-hate relationship, but that little voice is definitely not on our side.
But then again, that's also why the little voice firstly is it's not on your side, but it's the voice of
generational trauma.
No, okay, well that too, but that's for a different episode. It's the voice of just checking you're on the right path, just like, just kind of asking the tough questions that we don't necessarily want to ask, wake up and sort of look in the mirror and ask ourselves. It's just that constant, like, just checking in. Are you sure that's right? And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's kind of like the thing, I don't know if you've ever had a situation, because I've had it many times in a work environment where someone has done or said something that really pissed me off. And I write that email, and I'm like,
I hope this email finds you before I do.
Exactly. And then that voice is like, before you press send, that voice is like, you know what? Maybe just have a little read through that email before you press send. And you read it and you're like, oh, probably shouldn't send that. Edit, read it again, edit. And then you send it and it's more constructive. To me, that voice is more about like just tempering your immediate reaction as opposed to making you feel down. And then also what we need to do to kind of counteract that voice is find validation inside and elsewhere other than the external things in our lives. So other than most of the time work, for you, public approval and acceptance and, because you're in that industry that it's all about public perception, you need to, and I really feel like you've got this. And I think that that's why you're so good at what you do, because while you have the same insecurities that everyone else does, you are getting better, certainly, with time, but I think you're able to kind of see them for what they are. You let them get to you sometimes, but most of the time you're able to just be like, you know what, I'm good. Like, I know that I'm a nice person. I know I've got good friends. I know I'm good at what I do. I know I work bloody hard. I'm not going to let all of that get me down. So the voice can certainly make you question yourself, but my advice is let it be constructive questioning as opposed to creating massive self-doubt.
I feel like this podcast just turned into a therapy session for me. And I'm so happy. But on that note, I look up to you a great deal. You and I have this rare friendship where we're both best friends. We're sisters. You have like a bit of a mother figure involvement in my life. And one of the things I was curious about, because now
I'm
that
not
I'm
increasing
34.
your allowance.
Damn it. No, one of the things I was curious about, because I'm 34, I'm almost an adult, is how did becoming a parent change your relationship with your body?
In every single possible way. I have always had such an unhealthy relationship with my body. I developed a really bad eating disorder, which stayed with me for the majority of my life. And much like most eating disorders, it wasn't actually to do with weight when it started. It was to do with control. My dad got very, very sick when I was 11, 12 years old. He died when I was 17. And it kind of the development of that was purely like when everything around you is falling to pieces and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're going through puberty and it's a tricky time of life anyway. You find that one thing that you can really control, and it happens with a lot of kids, that's the thing you look to. And whether it's an eating disorder or, a lot of kids turn to these days like vaping or, hurting themselves or something like that. It started like that, but it stayed with me for so long. And every time something would get bad, it would ramp up, and I mean, it landed me in hospital a few times. It was just ridiculously stupid. And I then had my first two kids in very rapid succession. I got married in 2010. I had Bella, my eldest, in 2011, Coco, my second child, in 2012. And so initially the relationship with my body was very conflicted because I really struggled to just relax and let go of the control of my body and just be pregnant and just eat and just, not train and all of those things. And so that was a huge sort of awakening in terms of listen, this is happening whether or not you like it. And also you want the outcome, so embrace it, just be kind, And then once I had my girls, and you marvel at these little humans that you've created. It's the most wondrous, mind-blowing experience. You are genuinely overwhelmed with so much emotion just because you can't actually believe what it is that you've made, even though, it's happened. You're not the first, you won't be the last, but like that's how you feel, And so it's very hard to not have that translate into respect for your body. And the fact also I had 3 natural childbirths, which in itself, I was like, I always used to think that was a mental thing, choosing to do no drugs, water birth, etc. I always used to think that was just because I'm so stubborn mentally that I pushed through it. But if you really think about on a physiological basis, the number of things that have to go perfectly for a woman to fall pregnant, carry a child to term, and then give birth to a healthy child without significant damage to either herself or the baby, it's so like, it's just so mind-blowing. It's a miracle that you can't help. And then for your body to just get up and carry on, And like for those first 2 years, for those first 2 years, I mean, you don't sleep, like you really don't. You get like 2 hours of sleep at a time. And like, you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And you're still cleaning the house and you're still taking care of this and you're still working. And like, it's just so miraculous. So the relationship changed completely in that regard. I started being like, you know what, why the hell am I punishing this incredible body of mine when this is what it can do for me? And look at what I've done for it, like nothing. I've literally like just tortured it and it's awful. And then when I had my 3rd child, and that was already in my 40s, I was like, the fact that I could also do that at that age and bounce back and train harder than I did before, and just, like it's just so miraculous, as you said. And then after that, I got extremely sick. I got systemic sepsis, and I literally was sort of, 24 hours away from not making it, according to the doctors. And again, bounced back from that. And I mean, I'm quite a small human. So like the fact that this diminutive body of mine has this incredible strength inside it is just so, like, it fills me with such awe that now I really, really, when my body does something, that I don't want it to do, or if I feel a pain, or if I feel tired or something like that, whereas before I would just be like, my mind's like, shut the hell up, we're going to do that, I don't care. Now I'm actually like, okay, cool, you know what? That's okay. We're not going to kill ourselves training today. Let's just go for a walk, or let's, have an early night, or I don't know. I'm not as mean and punitive towards my body as I was before I had kids. And then the last point on that answer, sorry, it's very long, is the example that I'm setting to my kids. I'm also very conscious of every time I do something that is not the right thing for my body, they're watching. And I've got 2 daughters, as I said, and a young boy, and I don't ever want them to grow up and be like, oh, well, that's what mama did, so that's right, Yeah.
I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but you and I made like a little deal to each other that we are going to call each other out when we hear each other speak disrespectful about our bodies. And I mean, we haven't really done that since. But before, we used to be quite, oh man, this doesn't fit right.
Yeah.
Don't know what to wear, typical girl stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that small adjustment mentally gave me so much confidence at work.
Yes.
And it's the craziest thing how a small little shift with your best friend can really just be like, okay, I'm not alone in this world. How I feel about my body, other people are out there feeling the exact same way.
Guaranteed. I can promise you Candace Swanepoel has days that she wakes up and doesn't like something about her body. Like, I promise you, I don't know her, but I know that for an absolute fact.
Because to me, your body is perfect. Like, and you have abs for days.
But this is it. To me, it's the same thing. I look at you, I would give anything to have that height. I would give anything to have the length of your legs, your skin tone, your shape, your like everything. But
You're just perfect.
And this is where the podcast episode goes downhill quickly.
Bring out the shots and
Fast
you guys
forward,
will guys. Just skip to the question parts. It'll be a lot easier.
No, it's unfortunate that, and I was going to say woman, but I don't even think it's a gender thing anymore. I think it's so unfortunate that, we've got so many people, perfect people, some not even real people, they're freaking AI generated people to compare ourselves to. And we do all the time.
I think it's like how we were brought up. Like, obviously from the magazines, you're supposed to look a certain way, dress a certain way. I remember I had an issue with my curly hair. And much thanks to you, I started. I'm not wearing my curly hair today.
Jealous for curly hair.
But I had an issue with my curly hair for the longest time because on television there wasn't representation. Yeah. Or like I would go to school and they'd be like, you need to neaten up your hair. Yeah. But I'm like, why does Alice get to have her hair loose? Like, you know, it's very unfair. So I think it's also about how we were brought up, the representation of what it is that we were consuming as well. It's telling us the skinnier the better.
Totally. But that's also a good thing that we've become so much more aware of these things, because I feel like, you know, at least when I was raised, and I had the best parents in the whole world. You know, my mom's still around, thank God. Like, you know, I have nothing but good things to say about the way that I was raised. But I think that the level of consciousness in terms of like subliminal messaging and things like that, we're so much more aware these days because of social media, because it's just being shouted at us all the time on a daily basis. Whereas before, I don't think it was as apparent and as consistent. That now I think we think these things through. You know, I'm very aware of the examples that I see around my children. You know, it comes to my choice in friendships, and that also is something that changes as you get older. Like I am very intentional about the people that I choose to bring into our home on a regular basis, because those people are influencing my children. So I am certainly not saying that I don't wake up sometimes and be like, oh, I wish that, you know, whatever. But then again, at the same time, I'm like, but you know what? I'm 50 and I can bloody, you know, keep up in any class with any 20-year-old.
She really
and I know
can.
this for a fact.
No. So I have been the 20-year-old that she's talking about. She really can outwork anyone in the class, and it's very fun to see.
It's Suraya's favorite part of our friendship.
Yeah, why don't you show everyone the face? The face when I'm in a downward dog looking at you.
Under the helm. You can't say those words on a podcast.
Oh, what? Help me? Help me? I was
No.
saying help me. Okay, speaking of fitness trends, what are some of the most popular fitness trends or fitness things that you've seen that you had to unlearn?
I mean, again, I think it's, you know, it goes back to the previous answer. Anything that doesn't feel right for you. I am the worst. When something new comes out, I am all over it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying new things. But if you know that your body is absolutely freaking hating it and dreading it, you know that feeling. You know, it's not that like feeling of nerves of like, am I going to survive? But like it's a little bit of excitement. That's cool. But if it's genuinely like, you know, when you're trying to drag your dog to the vet and like everything is like, you know, sort of pushing against it. If your body's reacting like that, it's potentially not the right exercise for you. And I think that anything trend-based that doesn't feel good inside is just listen to that. Then maybe that trend isn't for you and jump onto the next one. Like I think that there are so many of them. You know, I like an extreme type of training. But, you know, if there are so many choices these days that like, you know, certain types of exercise, I don't like the way that it develops my body. So those wouldn't be the ones for me. You know, certain types of biohacking tools, I don't like the way that they make me feel. So those aren't for me. But then there are others that other people hate that I absolutely love. My husband, again, Sean, is a perfect example. The type of training that I do is literally his idea of hell on earth. Like it's like if someone were to design a torture, that would be his torture. A heated, packed class of just jumping around, going crazy with someone,
everyone's
you know,
so
shouting
close together.
at you.
I don't get it.
Exactly. But for me, that's my happy place. Like I absolutely love it. So I think the trend of just following a trend because it's the new thing is the one thing that people should get over. But by all means, try something new. And that, again, is the message that we keep on trying to get across here and at Sunshine People is find the thing that makes you feel joy, because there are so many options out there. So if you haven't found something and you've been in the same wellness routine for 10, 15 years, but you genuinely hate it, try something else, you know?
So, you know, I do jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
That what you just described is not what you're saying in jiu-jitsu. It's not like, oh my gosh, today was so fun. I can't wait for tomorrow. You're just like, everything hurts.
But there's something that brings you back every day.
Absolutely. I think it's more of like, when it comes to martial arts, it's more on a mental note, especially when you're the smallest person in class. You're just like, okay, how am I going to take down this 90 kg man right now?
Yes.
Like, am I going to go for the knees? I'm going to make him weak. I'm going to make him cry. I'm going to wet willy him. There's like so many things that's going through your mind. And then on top of it,
tapping
fitness.
into something a little bit deeper as well. Just putting that out.
Who's got issues? I do. So first of all, you know, within our friend group, you are the person that everyone comes to for advice on wellness, on fitness, on peptides. I remember when I started doing peptides, I was like, hey, can I do it like a day late? And you just like bring it over to my house, leave it in the fridge. And I hate needles. I don't want to do this. And you're like, I'll do it for you, just as long as you clean the area and you're showing me what to do. So you are our go-to person in the friend group. Also, amongst my friends that haven't met you, I'm like, oh, just ask Kate. You know, kind of thing. I'll send you her number. She's lovely. She'll be able to tell you exactly what to do. Does that ever feel a bit like pressure on your shoulders of being the healthy one in the friend group?
I mean, it's so funny because that's kind of, and I'm giving my secrets, my sort of my strategy away here, but that is partly why the intentional focus on joy comes through in Mama Mudra, because as you well know, I mean, like health and fitness has been a part of my life forever. My uncle started, you know, an enormous chain of gyms in the country. He's incredibly successful and high up in the world of karate. My dad was very into his weightlifting and gym. My mom's always been incredibly fit and healthy. And I always grew up being active. So it's always been a part of my life. But so has having a party. I love a party more than anyone. And I mean, the man that I married is one of the biggest party promoters and producers in the country and an incredible DJ. As you well know, we've got a club in our house. In fact, the club was built before the gym was built. So like, I am very much about having a good time as well as being healthy. So that's why when Mama Mudra kind of started, I wanted it always to be about a focus on joy, because sometimes dancing on a dance floor with you for 6 hours is my cardio.
But I can't do a sculpt class right now.
but then I want the option of being able to say I'm still the healthy one. Yeah. But sure, I went out last night and I had a hell of a good time and I'm very happy about it, and I'm probably not going to gym today, and that's okay. So I feel like there is the pressure that puts on me is not pressure that I don't welcome, because the life that I live is the life that I live. But I would never purport to be the wellness guru in terms of being completely on that side of the wellness spectrum, and I fast every day and I, you know, like have the right amount of fruit and veggies every day and drink enough water and everything, because a lot of the time I don't. But again, that's why the focus on joy is so important to me, because it's like I am going to have some bad days where I eat crap food, and the chances are, like me having junk food, I won't eat the burger bun. I'll eat the burger, but I won't eat the bun. I won't have the fries. Sometimes I will have the fries. But that came before all of this. That was always just me. And that's just, I know my body at this stage of my life and what it responds well to and what it doesn't. So, you know, I think that, yes, I'm aware of that, but I'm also very aware of always wanting to punt balance. And I think that we all have quite a good balance in that regard. Like, you know, we do know how to take care of ourselves. We do know how to live well and be healthy, but we also sure know how to have a good time.
We're all about balance here. Sometimes the scale tips.
Exactly.
Sometimes it tips.
It's a little bit here in December and a little bit...
No, we don't even call it December anymore. It's November. Let's be honest. It's November.
And November lasts a long time, let me tell you.
I'm also very bad. I have to put a reminder on my phone to drink water.
Yeah,
because I completely forget. And I think I have this rare genetic where I don't need as much water as other people, because I can go a whole day without drinking water and be fine.
Okay, that's terrible.
This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing it's not the best thing to do. However, I don't know if I have hydrophobia, if that's an actual word.
No, I mean, it is a word, but that's you can't go a full day without drinking water.
I've done it before.
Okay,
I've done it before. Good. And then, you know, this is probably why my voice sounds like this, because the next day I'm like...
Yeah, exactly. This is literally a liquid in your entire system.
Is this why my jokes are so dry? Is this maybe why? Okay. Okay, because I know the answer to this one because I experienced this with you.
Who gets a prize? She gets a prize.
I experienced this one with her. Has there ever been a point where your career has affected family life?
Absolutely. I think that any ambitious woman has had this moment that you are having to choose between, and it's horrible, but there are only so many hours in the day, and there are only so many things that we can get done in a day without sacrificing our own well-being, which most ambitious women do anyway. But I think, again, it comes down to the balance. It comes down to, if you know that 1 week you're sacrificing potentially time with your kids because you need to travel for work, or you've got deadlines, so you're working around the clock, so you miss dinner time, or you miss prayer time, or you miss story time, or you don't pack a lunch for them, you order a lunch from the school tuck shop, or you get a lift home with them with someone else because you physically can't be there. It's like weighing up, what was the reason for not being there? Was that deadline that important? Like, was the work trip that big of a deal, etc., etc.? And if so, I really believe that it's okay. And I'm always so scared to say this because it sounds like I'm speaking stay-at-home moms down. I am not. Let me tell you, I think stay-at-home moms work harder than working moms. Like, it is, I tried to do it for a while and I don't have the patience. Like, I'll readily admit it. And I need that thing sort of to take me out of, just sort of being in the house and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids, especially when they're little. But I think that the example that we're setting as women that have chosen to raise kids and work is important enough, if that is, sort of what you believe in with regards to a lifestyle. It's important enough to sacrifice those lifts or those home-cooked meals. It's such a nuanced answer because it's so easy for someone firstly to jump on this and crucify me for saying this. It's also so easy to kind of take it too far in either direction. But I think that every mom and woman knows in herself, when you are like, I think it's all about balance. It's so difficult balancing all of these things, and we talk about how it's always like on the woman, It's never a conversation that men have around the boardroom table,
Yeah.
Like, how are you doing this? How are you here and raising kids and everything? It's just like assumed that the woman
You just
is
got
at
done
home.
breastfeeding,
It's like, and the fact is, if you have a strong team, which I'm really, really lucky that I do, my partner, like Sean works his ass off, but my God, he's a present dad. And, like, again, I think it's about that balance of, if I know that I'm going to be away and busy, is he there? And if so, then that's okay. And sometimes it's actually great, because if I'm there, I promise you, I am taking front center every part of that stage that I can take, because that's just me, and I'm going to be doing it all. And, he's probably going to be downstairs in the office or whatever, working or whatever it is, But if I'm not there, he's front and center. And that in itself is a beautiful thing. So, you've got to, like, I think yes, the answer is yes, absolutely. There were times that I had to choose and I felt like I was sacrificing, but I think the sacrifices mostly were worth it.
And like you said, you have a beautiful team that helps you through it. I'm just now learning the sacrifice between work and having a personal life, because you know me, I plan my life around what's happening with work. You're like, cool, let's do this. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I have option dates for this and this. And now I'm finally going, okay, cool. Instead of living my life with the unpredictable that I might be working on the shoot or whatever, I'm going to start planning my life. I'm going to go to a country I've never been to. And I've seen through doing that, people are now getting angry at me because I've always been available in that regard. And now that I'm saying, no, I'm kind of going to put myself first and what I want to do, people are like, whoa, now I'm being a diva, now I'm being this and that. And it's just like, at what point, like you said, you're going to get crucified for the answers. At what point is the balance acceptable? But then you have to learn that you're doing stuff for yourself.
Exactly.
Sometimes you're doing things that feel like the right answer for you, and you're hoping by tomorrow someone will forget about this and we can move past it.
And even if they don't, and I know I was given strict instructions not to swear before we started recording, but I'm gonna, don't give a shit. Yeah. Just don't care. Even if they don't get over it.
Do you want to say that sentence again and I'll bleep you out? 3, 2, 1.
Don't give a. But seriously, even if you wake up the next day and they're still annoyed and irritated and frustrated at your behavior and your, you know, what a diva you're being, whatever, who cares? Like, honestly, I think as long as you know inside that the sacrifices you've made or the choices that you've made are right for you, then that's all that matters.
See, this is why she's my bestie and my mom. I come to her with everything. Now, this one is going to be interesting because I know sometimes you're not always that, but you always try and be it for all of us. And the question is, what does being strong mean to you?
Sure. I think if you'd asked me this question like 10, 15 years ago, strong would have been and was for a long time just pushing through no matter what, saying yes to absolutely everything, sacrificing myself always pushing the hardest, like in any gym class, in anything that I've ever studied, in any meeting, I'm front and center. I'm at the front of the boardroom, at the front of the class, at the front of wherever. I'm the one working the hardest. I'm the one, like, you know, always delivering to deadline, delivering the best, etc. Like always trying to, you know, I'm the teacher's pet, always trying to sort of do everything. I was about to say, were you
teacher's pet growing up?
Always trying, not actually, no, but school was a different time. But you know, I think for a long time, my idea of being strong was always pushing to the furthest that I could push, even if it wasn't right for me. And now it's literally flipped completely. It's being strong now is having the strength to, like you just said, say no because I know it's not right for me. And, you know, if something is coming up socially or something is coming up, I don't know, like a new project at work or something that I know is going to, it's a good opportunity, but it's just going to be too much for me, I say no now. And I never used to say no to anything.
Boundaries are weird.
It's crazy,
it's
but
amazing,
it's so empowering.
Yeah.
And I think now that's my strength. Like, you know, I don't know what exactly it is that's going on, but in the last week or 2 weeks, I have just, my energy has been very like inward focused, and I've been a lot less sort of exuberant, like externally energetic as I usually am. And normally I would kind of just be like, you know, suck it up, just get in there and just, you know, do what you got to do. And like, you know, then you'll feel more like yourself afterwards. And recently I've just been kind of like, it's okay. And I've actually just been a little bit quieter, and I haven't been the loud one, and I haven't been the one, you know, sort of like, yeah, just haven't been sort of the sort of the outgoing one. And I've had so many people say to me, like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm great.
Do you know what gave it away? The moment everyone was concerned.
Yeah.
On Easter when you wore flats. Yeah. Instead of Kate is the type of person who wear heels.
That was that I've realized.
Kate will wear heels on a beach, but she was wearing sneakers on Easter, and I'm like, "Are you okay?"
That took it way too far. That was I think that might have been a sign of
that's where we were all like, no, "Okay, this needs to be an intervention." Kate, are you fine?
And also on that day, we had the tallest people I've ever met come to my house, and I don't know why that was necessary. Just saying. So really, that'll never happen again.
It's people you can look up to. It's great. I did make the very off-putting joke because the wife had said to me that he gets a lot of tall jokes. I'm like, I would never make one, but when he has milk, does it turn into yogurt? So if they never visit you again, I apologize. Okay. I'm
now
so
I know.
Sorry. Yeah. But now this is a great segue into the next question. What are some of the struggles that most people would never guess that you go through, apart from having...
Are you waiting for me to talk about being short? I know you are. Wow.
I mean, if the shoe fits.
What are some of the struggles that...
Do you need me to lift the mic? What are some of the struggles?
And I am wearing heels today, so I can say enough.
Do you want us to give you... I can say... want a little cushion. What are some of the struggles that people would never guess that you go through in your personal life behind the scenes?
I mean, I think just like consistently doubting myself because of, that little voice that we spoke about earlier and how it can be so negative and so mean sometimes, even though I try to make it more of a constructive sort of questioning voice. It's loud and it doesn't shut up. So I think that the struggles that people don't, I know that I come across as quite self-confident, and I know that I come across as quite like, I've got my stuff together. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've got these 3 kids. I've got a wonderful life, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I've got a fantastic marriage. Like, I'm very, very lucky in so many ways. So I think that people might not realize how much, but I think it's most of us, how much I wake up and question myself, just in terms of like, for a very long time, I was in the same career or related careers, and my trajectory was very, consistent and steady, and I was doing all the right moves and making all the right, getting all the right sort of upward promotions, et cetera. And so I think now that I guess it's the atypical midlife crisis. Not that I like to call it that, because I think that belies how old I feel, because I certainly don't feel like I'm in midlife. But I think that it's an interesting perspective to be trying something completely new at this stage of life, especially with children as old as mine are, because they're even, like, why? Like, what do you, why start something new at this stage, So there's a lot of self-doubt and self-questioning that happens that I don't think people realize. And I think that also goes to, when I'm having a quieter moment, because I tend to get into my head a lot. And it often happens as well when I'm training, because, obviously that then is when you can think a lot, because you are, you're more in your body. So kind of like your mind isn't full of the clutter of when you're at your laptop, you're like, what you're thinking about doing. When I'm in my body training, your mind shifts more into your body moving, and then it kind of like opens itself up to the bigger picture things that maybe you don't give yourself time to think about during the day. Well, that's for me at least. So a lot of the time I'll find myself questioning myself then and be like, wait, is that direction right? Is that going to make sense? Is this like, does anyone care about this? Like, why me? Like, so there's that ongoing questioning narrative for sure, which I can allow to become very negative if I let it carry on for too long. But I'm becoming a lot better at kind of cutting it at the point of, okay, this is now no longer constructive. Now you're actually just creating insecurity and kind of, getting myself back on track. But yeah, I think that's the answer. I question everything. But again, I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, what is it called? Imposter syndrome?
Totally.
And
we all do.
Oh gosh. And what's it? I always seek outside validation.
Yes.
And you know what I realized? Yeah. It's because on a daily basis, I probably experience more rejection in a week than some people will experience in a year.
Totally.
And as a result, it's like, okay, so now I need reassurance in my personal life, because we told just deal with it.
Yeah.
I'll forget about it.
Totally.
There'll be the next one. And then I realized, no, I should actually just mourn every time I don't get a part that I want, or deal with that rejection, because no one ever teaches us how to deal with things. They just tell us to move past it.
Totally. But a good lesson to remember is that there is no success without failure. You will never, ever, ever, if all we ever did was just succeed and things went right, firstly, there'd be no gratification. It would feel like nothing, because that would just be like, oh, it's Tuesday.
Easy
I won
as.
another business deal, like whatever. Like I got another part. Like, of course I did. It's Tuesday, like you've got to have the dark, the yin and the yang. You've got to have the dark times, like the really horribly dark times, in order to appreciate and see the great times when they come. And also, no one learns from succeeding. You don't ever, if you do something and it works, and it results in success, you don't go back and be like, oh, what did I do? Why did that work? You're just like, it worked, I got it. And then you just run forward. You don't stop. Whereas if you fail, at least I do, you think about that. You audit that. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Why didn't that work?
There's a lot more self-reflection.
And you grow, and then you succeed. So I hear you. The external validation is a huge thing, and the self-doubt and all of that. But I think if you reframe the losses as opposed to the failures as opportunities to learn and grow and evolve, it becomes somewhat more palatable.
Palatable. Word of the day. Palatable. Just like this podcast. Oh, sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. So on days that you do not have motivation, like I want to say it's this morning. Okay, so Kate sent me a voice note yesterday as we were prepping for this going, I was going to gym this morning, but then I realized it was too close to the podcast, so I'm not going to do it. And it was the first time I heard you say in our friendship going, I'm not going to the gym.
I'm gymming tonight.
So ignore everything I just mentioned. So on the days when you're normal like me, which is every day, and you don't have the motivation to go to the gym,
Yeah.
what motivates you?
So I try to not rely on motivation to get me to do things that I don't want to do, because it's not consistent and it's not reliable. And I find that, as I said earlier, I'm someone that absolutely has an inherently focused perspective when it comes to fitness and wellness and all those good things. But I also have an extremely hedonistic side, and I love to have a good time. So I know that if I only rely on the motivation, that on the days that I'm feeling more like, oh, I could totally go and have a long boozy lunch, I'm going to allow myself to go and do the boozy lunch after we finish here. I'm going to allow myself the boozy lunch. And, I'm not going to rely on the motivation, because sometimes the motivation can be motivating me in the wrong direction. What I'm going to rely on is the feeling I'm going to get from what it is that I want to do. And sometimes that's the feeling that I'm going to get from having a boozy lunch, and that's okay. But most of the time, it's, like a deadline that you have to meet, a gym session that you've got to go and do, a meeting that you need to take, a phone call that you need to make. I am the worst with phone calls. I literally rack up lists of like people that I owe phone calls to because I never speak on my phone. It's terrible. And so I honestly, it's so bad. I leave it, and I add to it and add to it and add to it. And then the weekend I'll be like, okay, now this is your hour. You're going to phone everyone and get it done. But it's like you focus on, okay, you don't feel like you want to do what you need to do now, but how good are you going to feel once it's done? And there's never been a time that I've done that thing and afterwards been like, oh, I really wish I hadn't done that. You feel great. That sense of accomplishment, that sense of achievement from training, the endorphins, So I try and focus more on that. But at the same time, sometimes I just go for the boozy lunch, and that's okay.
It's so funny that you said you're not a phone call person. I'm not a WhatsApp person. Do you see where this friendship hits a lot of hiccups? I'll phone Kate and be like, oh, she said, I'll phone you back in an hour. Kate WhatsApps me. I reply like a day later.
I know, I've got to get better. I really do.
No, I also understand, because her youngest probably has her phone majority of the time playing games. I know this. So when you feel stuck and like a bit disconnected from the world, I know we just spoke about motivation and how you motivate yourself to go there, the endorphins. I think gym would be a safe place for you.
Yeah.
Actually. And I did see somewhere on an Instagram reel, so I don't know how accurate this is, that gymming and lifting weights actually has the ability to help heal trauma.
I'm sure.
Because of,
absolutely.
That explains a lot. I've never seen a buff guy angry.
I mean, if you look at the conversation that I had with Shanae, I was going to do a bit of a plug. If you go back and watch the episode with Shanae, it's one of the questions that I asked her, and it happens to me all the time. In fact, one of my very best friends sadly had to put her pet down last night, and she's absolutely broken about it. And I spoke to her just before I got here, and she's like, I'm going to yoga. I'm just going to get it all out. Oh, and it's like, it's happened to me so many times, and not always immediately related to moments of trauma. Sometimes it can be months later. Sometimes it can not be something that you even feel has a relation to anything, but you'll be moving through a practice. It's usually yoga, because it is that much deeper and more inward. And at the end of the class, when you're lying in Shavasana, you are sweating. So it's like, there's so much stuff coming out of you already, but you just start crying. And it's the most beautiful, cathartic, incredible experience. So it absolutely is. That was literally the episode that I did with Shanae, was how to use motion to unlock emotion. Because it does. It's like when, we're so hectically strong in our minds, and we're so good at holding everything locked in like this in terms of stored trauma. And you just you push it down, suppress, don't focus, don't, process, don't let it come up. And physical motion sometimes is enough to just move it and shift it a little bit just so that it can start coming up to the surface and be released, which is ultimately what we want. So I think that it's definitely, I feel like I've gone totally off the question.
I didn't even get to the question, but it's
okay.
great. No. It's you basically answering and saying the question at the same time. It's like you can read my mind. I love it. The question was going to be if a woman felt disconnected,
yes,
what would the first steps be?
Yeah.
If she's disconnected from her body. But as you just mentioned now, Shavasana, is that the pose that you're in? And you're sweating
it's when
the
you lie
outside.
at the end and you kind of it's
I
an
know.
assimilation pose. Yeah.
I have cried many times in that.
Yeah.
We did it once in a heated Pilates, and then
totally.
I was in tears afterwards,
Totally.
and you're just
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Even assimilation can also just be sitting. If you do any yoga teacher training, they will speak to you. You learn all about dysregulation and regulation. So dysregulation is obviously where your body is not in sync, and regulation is how to bring it back into sync. And one of the most powerful tools is literally just sitting. And it's so interesting. And I encourage everyone listening to this to go and sit and literally just sit for at least 10 minutes with yourself in silence, with your thoughts. Do not get distracted. Do not do anything other than just sit. And the first 2 minutes are going to be so uncomfortable, and you're going to be fidgeting, and you're going to be like, I can hear something. There's a dog barking. Why is there a dog barking? I forgot to put that light off. And then all of a sudden, your mind will just still, and your body and your nervous system will start assimilating. And anyone that is not feeling sort of in sync with themselves, or just feeling a little bit dysregulated, that practice, honestly, of just silence and sitting, even if it's in your Uber on the way to a casting, and you're just excuse me, Uber driver, can we just not talk? Can you put the radio off? Can we have silence? And can I just put my phone down and just sit? It is so powerful. And it's something that I try and tell my kids more so when they were younger. If they're having a moment of complete dysregulation, if they're in a tantrum, if they're whatever, literally just sit and just focus on your breath, and just it's the most powerful thing.
I do forget how powerful taking a breath before anything is. But now I'm going to ask people to actually vote if we can have a 10-minute guided meditation just with Mama Mudra's voice.
Sure.
Of
Absolutely.
how to, so after this, we're just gonna, it's just gonna be pretty images of Kate's garden. She has a beautiful garden, just having this.
Perfect.
Kate, thank you so much for letting me pick your brain on this. We were very well behaved because we were told to. But the next one might be a bit more of a chaotic episode. I'll strap a GoPro to my chest during a Pilates class or something.
Exactly. The next one we'll do while we're training.
Yeah.
Thank you, baby.
I love you so much, and everything you say is always filled with love and so much motivation. And thank you for creating a space like this where we can share.
Thank you, my love. I love this.
And that was the fake Mama Mudra. I'm putting this on so I don't get teary-eyed. Who is she? I'm Mama Mudra, signing out for next episode. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you, everyone. The next time will be me again in the hot seat. Please like, subscribe, share, all the good things.
Bye.
If this episode shifted something with you, share it with someone who needs it. Because the wellness industry doesn't change from the top down. It changes through conversations like these. So subscribe, and stay close. We're not chasing wellness anymore. We're redefining it through joy. See you next week.